Hi, I'm Peter Birch and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. For everyone else, today guys, we're going to be looking at giant monitors and we're going to look at monitor socialization. And today we're here with Rory and the awesome Parente.
Big slice.
Big slice, check him out. Look at that. Now, I guess the most important thing that I want to discuss today is socialization. I want everyone to know that this is not possible for everyone, right?
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience is probably the biggest thing.
My main important message today is for everyone back there is you can't just go onto Gumtree, buy a monitor, take it home and then pat it like this.
Yeah, no, definitely not. These guys have...
Well, no more than once, right?
Yeah, that's it. You definitely don't do it more than once. They've got the most intense bite on them because that jaw pressure is insane.
Amazing, yep.
Razor sharp teeth, massive teeth. They've even got a little bit of venom in their gums.
So what you're saying is kind of nasty.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
From personal experience, it is nasty.
Yeah.
It is sharp, it's quick, and it is intense, and it's almost life-changing. But this guy, like you said, you know, you've spent a lot of time with this guy.
Yeah.
And look at Big Slice. He's just sitting here, he's chilling. He's not thinking about anything else apart from what's going on and what are these people doing in here, right?
That's it. And like, even though this guy is super good now, both of us,
yep,
knowing what we're doing, we're still very careful of
oh yeah, definitely.
how our movements are gonna...
That's right. Watch his cues, watch the body language is very important, right?
Yeah, so it's even when you do get them to this stage, and this guy's our show one, we put him on little kids at birthday parties and he's amazing. But if you pay attention to them, then accidents aren't going to happen.
That's right.
And when you don't pay attention, painful accidents happen.
So I guess things like, obviously we're talking about food cues, things that will stimulate them visually. So like you said, quick, fast, jabby movements can stimulate them.
So in the middle of summer, if I'm in here weeding, he generally always rushes straight over to me as soon as I've pulled something out. It's a fast movement. Then I have to let him know I'm not food, give him a chin, stop his run, give him a chin pat.
So basically what you're doing is you're neutralising that thought process, stopping him by resetting him basically.
That's it, concentration, breaking his concentration. And,
that's right. So obviously with big enclosures like this, I mean, it does help with the whole process of socialisation.
100%, yeah, because you can just come and sit there and he can come to you on his own accord. And
that's right. So now it's on his terms, right? Yep. He's coming to you, he's looking at you, he's
yeah,
searching. He doesn't feel pressured.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing where most people are going to be keeping these animals in small cages and then trying to put their hands in and go, I want you to be me, be my friend, I want you to love me, why don't you love me? And then obviously they get bit or they get slapped.
And that's the thing as well, like you can get them to a point where, from just manhandling them to the point where you can't handle them, but it's not where they're going to be overly safe.
So obviously the whole process, the whole training process or the socialization process, because it's really not a training process, is it?
People don't like that terminology.
No, I guess the training is resetting the way humans think, number one, and the second thing is working with the animals, reading body language, which is obviously the cues, the way the eyes move, the way the head twitches, things like that. Obviously can mean all different things, whether they're excited. Excitement usually means food or
food
crazy
or
things.
Sometimes they want to mate with you and you're picking that one up. But
it's one of the safest parts, being mated with rather than being chewed on. The secondary thing obviously is, you know, just working with the animals and becoming more adept, working with the animals and knowing the way they are.
Like knowing their body language and their cues and everything in that regard is probably the biggest thing, because if you think about it, the more you understand the animal, the more you're going to react to the way that the animal needs you and wants you to react. And then over time doing that and you're reacting kind of perfectly to what it is expecting every time, then it's going to just see you as one of its close, safe haven buddy kind of things.
Yeah. So the other cool thing that I want people to understand is that there's absolutely nothing wrong with this animal at all.
Yeah.
And in fact, we could feed him right now and he would eat right now, and he wouldn't sort of, well, hopefully if we did things right, that we're not going to get chewed on or munched on.
Yeah, like he's at the stage where, like, once he's got that initial burst of food response out of the way, he will take his time and smell the different smells. And if you're even hand feeding, we never condone hand feeding, but if you were, he would know the different smells. But saying that, like, if this guy was to go in the wild tomorrow, he would still be able to hunt down food and do all that stuff. He'd just be quite dangerously comfortable with people. Yeah.
So I guess the other cool thing that we want to discuss when we're talking about socialization with monitors, the best time to start is now.
Yeah.
Like, the sooner the better. Don't put it off. Get straight into it.
That's it. Like, as soon as you've got the animal, it's part of socialization, and each different monitor species is a slightly, you can use different techniques on all of them, and even just giving like a baby space, like you just and having it see you.
I'm just going to stop you there. Just see exactly what he did then. See how his whole demeanor just changed instantly. For most people that don't know, there was actually a noise behind the camera there, and it's startled him, and he's lifted his head up. He had his eyes closed, but he's just gone into like a bit of a different mode, and now he's sort of chilling out a bit more now.
And they're the cues you got to pay attention to.
Oh yeah, definitely, because number one, I don't want to get bit, you don't want to get bit, and more importantly, I don't want my cameraman to get bit. I'll never hear the end of that one, trust me. So, you know, reading the cues, watching his body language, very important regardless of how many years you've been working with these animals. Now, just for most people, this guy here isn't a year old, he's not 2 years old, he's 10
years old, this guy. So we got him about a month out of the egg.
So that's 10 years of hard work that's gone into old Slice here. Look at him, he's a gorgeous, absolute gorgeous creature.
And they'll always improve. People always ask how long it took him to get him like this, and the answer I give is usually it's a forever going process.
Because I mean, like you said, you know, we could do something dumb right now, and that would change the whole way that we work with this animal.
It's always, and if we ever get bit, it's our fault.
That's right. That's 100%. How we're going to look at it. 100%.
And they're not. A lot of people in the past have said that goannas are unpredictable, but if you watch them enough, you'll realise that anything they do is the most predictable thing in the world.
Well, this is awesome. Let's go and look at some of the other animals that you're currently working with, and we'll go through a bit more information with those guys. All right, so when we're talking about starting as early as possible, I mean, this isn't for everybody, right? How early is this?
So this one hatched out about probably 5 days ago.
So this is a 5-day-old Parenti, guys. Absolutely gorgeous little lizard. If you could start at this age, this is the perfect time to start training.
Yeah, absolutely, like straight out of the egg. Because every interaction with you is imprinting on them. It's telling them whether you are a threat or a friend.
And I guess for most people, you know, we're never going to be able to do this, right? Unless you're actually breeding the animals. So for the majority of people, we're going to end up starting with something else, aren't we?
Yeah. So most likely, like we got our big Slice, the big Parenti. We got him in about a month out of the egg, at which point he was super timid, super scared. I ended up covering the enclosure just to get him to eat first and focused on that.
It's interesting you say that, because even at this age here, this guy here is not comfortable. Just looking at that body language and the way he's puffing his throat, he's not comfortable at all, is he?
Yeah, no, that's it. Like, he's puffing up. Takes a bit of getting used to, but we focus on getting them eating first. Once they're eating, then you can start doing the training.
Well, I guess it's not cool having an animal that's really good to handle and doesn't eat, right?
That's it, yeah.
That project's going to dive bomb real quick.
Yeah.
So the important thing is getting him feeding, getting him used to you. And like you said, this guy is huffing and puffing a little bit. So we might put him away. We might grab one of the other ones. Just something that where normal people would be starting at.
Yeah.
You're very lucky. Most people don't get this opportunity to have all these different areas where we can start. So I guess for most people, this is where we're going to be starting, right?
Yeah. So this guy's pretty much ready to go to a new home. So he's one that we've bred. He's nearly a month old now and eating well.
I mean, even just by looking at this guy's body language, he's more curious than fearful right now.
And it's a lot, like, we haven't put much work into this guy, but it's a lot of just the fact that at this stage I'm not overly restraining him. Yeah. Like, I'm controlling him so he doesn't dart off and
that's right. Everywhere. But at the same point, like you said, it's the restraining part where people feel like they need to hold them and restrain them to make them love them. But it's not about that, is it?
No, that's it. Like, giving them as much freedom as you can, safely, of course.
Yep. It's a whole trust barrier, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You've got to trust him and he's got to trust you, more importantly.
Yep. And you see he's tongue flicking there, he's smelling me as well. So that's bringing all the information of my scent into his brain, and every interaction that he's having while he's smelling that is kind of imprinting on him.
That's right. So like imprinting basically is the information, right? He's getting that information and he realises that you're a friend, not a foe now. Do you want to... Yeah, I know.
And over the top's a big thing for these guys too. They're terrified of birds.
That brings us to the next part where you just said, you know, the whole working with these guys. Cage height is a big thing, right? Yeah. And I noticed we didn't have to kneel down on the floor and pick him up. Yeah. He's at chest height, if not higher. And I mean, this guy obviously he doesn't like my smell as much as yours, so he's a little bit more wary.
Yeah, and they do pick you out from that as well. So.
And I mean, he's having a good smell there and a good taste.
But the height that you were speaking about, that's exactly right. Like, these guys, if they're the same size as you, like same eye height, if they're well below you look terrifying to them. Yeah. Whereas if you can put the enclosure high, for a Lacey for instance, if you've got the enclosure high, or even a Parenti, and you're walking past them and they're just seeing you walking about without being interacted for like the first couple of months of their life kind of thing, and you go into the enclosure and you work around in the enclosure with them and just move them about without stressing them out too much, they're going to get really used to you, and then you can start just slowly touching them, picking them up. Again, not like manhandling them and like being aggressive and stuff.
So there again, you know, my hand's cupped, but I've actually just got his tail here at the base here. And even at this age, they're quite squishy. And every time they pull, it almost feels like they're going to pull themselves apart.
That's
so
it.
you sort of get a little bit weirded about it.
But he doesn't even have his tail curled, this one. Like he's puffing a bit and he's
chilling.
opening his mouth, but he's not overly upset.
Well, let's look at the one that you've been working with for a little while.
Yeah.
So this is a lizard that's in progress, right?
It is, yeah. He's nice and warmed up. He is in progress. He's doing really well. So he's not at the point where he's going to defensively bite me. He will still food response bite me because he's still not 100% taught him that food is not a thing. This is also probably his first time outside, I think.
Yeah. The whole idea of him being on top of your shoulders, I mean, for most people, this would absolutely freak them out. It's important.
Yeah. So this guy, like earlier on, when I was holding him in my hands, he was freaking out a little bit.
And you're holding him up high.
Holding him up higher than my head, and
which is almost like
calmed right down,
top of Mount Kosciuszko, which is the largest mountain in Australia. But anyway.
Yeah, they love to be up high. They also will freak out because they are scared of birds and stuff. If they pass through shade, so coming out here, we passed through a few different light, like one area where the light was off, one area where the light was on. And that's something you've got to be aware of too, because if they suddenly freak out and you're not aware that they're going to freak out in that situation, then you're not prepared for it.
That's right. So I guess the crazy part here is he's actually starting to relax.
Yeah.
Which is the weird part, because he's dominating you. He's on top of you,
yeah.
Right? He's the master at the moment. But this is all part of the process, right? It's
yeah.
about you as a human learning to give away some of that responsibility.
Exactly,
and trust him.
Yeah, like we don't want to dominate him.
That's right. And the second part is about letting him be comfortable with you as well.
Yeah.
So obviously he's puffing himself up a little bit there. His mouth gaping, but then I'm going to say it's probably more to do with me than you.
Well, the mouth gaping, I believe, is kind of like they'll puff up their throat, but it's a huge muscle. So the mouth gaping is just like a stretching of the muscle. Yep. It's not an overly aggressive thing, this fella.
So like you said, this animal's like a year in training. So still, we're not anything like the big Parenti, right? So you start to strip off here. It's important that the process is going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Put a lot of time and effort in on both parties. You both got to learn to respect each other and win each other over, right?
And a lot of it's just me pulling him out at this stage and doing what I'm doing right now, letting him move about as much as possible. I try not to get him on the head, or like on top of my head, because the claws are razor sharp. And
yeah, there's nothing worse than having those in the.
He always wants to though. So if you let him too close to your face, he'll try to jump for you.
That goes back to what type of animal it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's an arboreal species of monitor. So these guys like to climb, and they climb very quickly. My next question is, what are 3 tips that you can give people at home to try and help socialize yourself and the animal into a good relationship?
The first tip I'd say is learn the animal. So pay as much attention to it as you can and try to figure out what it's telling you.
So things like feeding.
So
keeping the animal in a cage and feeding and just watching it, how it moves about in the cage.
Yeah.
And how it moves, like even when you open the cage, do water changes or clean caging and stuff like that.
And if you've got multiples in there, how it interacts with cage mates.
Yes. So that's another whole sort of thing on its own. I believe single animals will work a lot better than multiple animals all at once.
It can be a lot easier.
Learn your animal. Number 2, I would say develop what I'm doing right now, which is I like to call a concentration break. So he's a bit cranky being outside and all that stuff, but concentration break is going to basically, if he decides that you're food or he's angry and upset or he's stressing out, concentration break's just going to break that concentration. So basically resets him.
So for example, on a worst case scenario, if you accidentally get bitten by your beloved pet and you've put a lot of training into it, sometimes a concentration break where you reach under the chin, and I've managed to do it before with a rather large Parenti that bit onto my hand. I reached under the chin and everything else wasn't working. As soon as I touched it under the chin, it just went, oh, whoops, I've actually bit that person.
Yep, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. So that's number 2. What's number 3?
Number 3, patience.
Patience and pain.
Patience and pain. So you kind of put up with it, and inside that, I would although he's scraping me up with the claws, I don't often like to trim the claws because they do use them in their enclosure, and the more he digs in, the more he's feeling uncomfortable. Yep. So it kind of it's another tail sign of that. But patience is the thing. You've got to sit there with these guys. You've got to kind of let them move about, and as you said, patience and pain.
So that comes with a part of the parcel, unfortunately. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. I hope you guys learned a little bit about socialization with monitors. Right on cue. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Thanks, Rory, for being such a great guest and showing and sharing your knowledge. It's been awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Make sure you give us a like. Until next time, guys, thanks for watching CrittaCam.